Moldy cheese. To eat or not to eat? Moldy cheese is a topic that has sparked countless debates. Some people swear by the taste and consider moldy cheese a delicacy, while others are disgusted by the mere thought of consuming it. The truth is, moldy cheese is more common than you might think, and not all molds are created equal. In fact, some molds are necessary for cheese production, while others can be harmful to your health. It can be difficult to know which cheeses are safe to eat and which should be avoided. In this video we will separate fact from fiction and answer some of the most common questions about moldy cheese. We'll cover everything from identifying safe and unsafe molds, tips for storing cheese, and how to safely remove mold from cheese. So if you're a cheese lover and have ever wondered whether it's safe to eat that moldy cheese in your fridge, keep reading. 1. Introduction to moldy cheese. Cheese is a beloved food all over the world. It can be enjoyed on its own, in sandwiches, as a topping on pizza, or in countless other ways. However, cheese lovers may sometimes encounter a moldy piece of cheese and wonder whether it's safe to eat or not. Some people may even worry that eating moldy cheese could be harmful to their health. In this post, we'll examine the topic of moldy cheese and separate fact from fiction. We'll look at the different types of mold that can grow on cheese, how to tell if cheese is still safe to eat, and whether or not moldy cheese can actually be good for you. By the end of this video you'll have a better understanding of moldy cheese and be able to make informed decisions about whether to eat it or not. So, let's dive in and explore the fascinating world of moldy cheese. 2. Is moldy cheese safe to eat? When it comes to moldy cheese, the answer is not always straightforward. It depends on the type of cheese and the type of mold. Some molds are safe to eat, while others can make you sick. Generally speaking, mold is a type of fungus that grows in moist environments and can appear on many different types of food, including cheese. In the cheese-making process, mold is often intentionally added to create the distinctive flavor and texture of certain types of cheeses, such as blue cheese or Roquefort. However, not all molds are created equal. While some are harmless, others can produce mycotoxins, which are toxic compounds that can cause illness in humans. As a rule of thumb, soft cheeses with high moisture content, such as brie or camembert, are more likely to contain harmful molds and should be discarded if moldy. Hard cheeses, on the other hand, can often be salvaged by cutting off the moldy part with a generous margin and consuming the rest. When in doubt, it's always better to err on the side of caution and discard moldy cheese. If you're not sure whether a particular type of cheese is safe to eat, consult a food safety expert or your healthcare provider. 3. The different types of cheese mold. When it comes to cheese, mold is a common occurrence and can be found in various types. Some mold is harmless and even essential for creating certain types of cheese, while others can be harmful to consume. Here are the different types of cheese mold you may come across. 1. Penicillium mold. This type of mold is commonly used in the production of blue cheeses such as Roquefort, Gorgonzola, and Stilton. The mold is added during the cheese-making process and is safe to eat. 2. White mold. Brie and Camembert are examples of cheeses that develop a white, fluffy mold coating. This mold is safe to eat and is an important part of the cheese-making process. 3. Pink mold. Pink mold on cheese is not common, but when it appears, it is generally a sign that the cheese is no longer safe to consume. This mold can cause allergic reactions and can also be harmful to pregnant women. 4. Green mold. Green mold can be found on a variety of cheeses and can be either harmless or harmful. For example, green mold on hard cheeses such as cheddar or Swiss cheese is generally safe to cut off and consume, while green mold on soft cheeses such as brie or camembert is a sign that the cheese has gone bad and should be discarded. It's important to note that not all mold is visible to the naked eye, so it's best to err on the side of caution when it comes to consuming moldy cheese. If in doubt, it's always safer to discard the cheese. 4. How to identify safe and unsafe cheese molds. When it comes to identifying safe and unsafe cheese molds, it's important to understand that not all molds are created equal. While certain molds can be beneficial for cheese, others can be toxic and harmful to your health. Here are a few tips to help you identify safe and unsafe cheese molds. 1. Check for visible signs of mold growth on the surface of the cheese. If the mold is fuzzy and white or blue, it's likely safe to eat. However, if you see black or green spots, it's best to throw the cheese away, as these are typically signs of harmful mold. 2. Use your sense of smell. If the cheese smells funky or has an unpleasant odor, it's likely gone bad and should be discarded. However, if the cheese has a strong, pungent smell, like blue cheese, it's likely safe to eat. 3. Know your cheeses. Some cheeses, like blue cheese and brie, are intentionally made with mold and are safe to eat. However, other cheeses, like cheddar and mozzarella, should not have mold growth and should be discarded if you see any signs of mold. 4. When in doubt, throw it out. If you're unsure whether a cheese is safe to eat, it's always best to err on the side of caution and throw it away. Mold can spread quickly, so it's better to be safe than sorry. By following these tips, you can avoid consuming unsafe cheese molds and enjoy your favorite cheeses with peace of mind. 5. How to store cheese to prevent mold growth. Cheese is a beloved food item enjoyed by many, but mold growth can be a concerning issue. To prevent mold growth on cheese, it's important to store it properly. Cheese should be stored in airtight containers to prevent moisture from getting in and mold from growing. Another great method is to wrap the cheese in wax paper or parchment paper, followed by a layer of plastic wrap. This will prevent moisture from seeping in and allow the cheese to breathe. It's also important to store cheese in the correct temperature range. Hard cheeses, like cheddar or parmesan, should be stored at around 40 degrees Fahrenheit, while softer cheeses, like brie or camembert, should be stored at around 50 degrees Fahrenheit. It's also important to keep in mind that some mold on cheese is completely normal and safe to eat. In fact, some cheeses, like blue cheese and gorgonzola, are intentionally made with mold. However, if the cheese has mold growing on areas it wasn't supposed to, has a strange smell or taste, or has a slimy texture, it's best to discard it and not risk consuming it. By properly storing cheese and keeping an eye on any mold growth, you can enjoy your favorite cheese without any worry. 6. How to safely cut away mold from cheese. Moldy cheese can be a bit of a tricky situation. On one hand, you don't want to waste perfectly good cheese, but on the other hand, you don't want to risk getting sick either. So, what's the solution? The good news is that you can still salvage your cheese by safely cutting away the mold. Here's how to do it. 1. Identify the moldy area. Before you start cutting, take a good look at the cheese and identify the moldy area. If the mold is only on the surface, you can still save the cheese by removing the affected area. 2. Use a clean knife. Use a clean, dry knife to cut away the moldy area. Make sure to cut around the mold, leaving a safe distance of at least 1 inch from the affected area. 3. Re-wrap the cheese. After you have removed the moldy area, re-wrap the cheese in fresh paper or plastic wrap. This will help prevent the mold from growing back. 4. Store the cheese properly. Make sure to store the cheese properly after you have cut away the mold. Cheese that has been cut should be stored in an airtight container in the refrigerator. Remember, if the mold has penetrated the cheese, it's best to discard it. It's also important to note that some types of cheese, such as blue cheese and brie, have mold as a part of the normal aging process. In this case, it's safe to eat the cheese as long as it was purchased from a reputable source and has not exceeded its expiration date. 7. When to throw away moldy cheese. Moldy cheese can be tricky to deal with. On one hand, mold is an essential part of the cheese-making process and is often added intentionally to certain types of cheese to enhance flavor. On the other hand, some molds can be harmful and cause food poisoning if consumed. The general rule of thumb when it comes to moldy cheese is to throw it away if it is soft or shredded. Soft cheeses like brie, camembert, and goat cheese have a high moisture content, making them more susceptible to mold growth. Shredded cheeses also have a large surface area, allowing mold to spread quickly. Hard cheeses, on the other hand, can often be salvaged by simply cutting off the moldy part. This is because hard cheeses like cheddar, parmesan, and Gouda have a low moisture content, making it harder for mold to grow deep into the cheese. However, If the mold has penetrated deeply into the cheese or if it has a strong odor, it is best to err on the side of caution and throw it away. It is important to note that even if you cut off the moldy part of the cheese, there is still a chance that the rest of the cheese has been contaminated. This is especially true if the cheese has been sitting in the fridge for a long time or if it has been stored improperly. If you are unsure whether a piece of cheese is safe to eat, it is always better to be safe than sorry and throw it away. In summary, when it comes to moldy cheese, it is better to be safe than sorry. Throw away soft or shredded cheese that has mold on it and use your best judgment when it comes to hard cheese. If in doubt, throw it out. 8. The health benefits of cheese. Cheese is one of the most beloved foods by people all around the world. It is a dairy product made from milk, and it comes in various forms, from soft to hard, mild to sharp, and aged to fresh. Cheese is not only tasty, but also a great source of essential nutrients that can boost your overall health. First and foremost, cheese is an excellent source of protein, which is essential for building and repairing tissues in the body. It is also rich in calcium, which is crucial for maintaining strong bones and teeth. Additionally, cheese is a good source of vitamins, including vitamin A, B12, and D, which are essential for healthy eyesight, energy production, and bone health, respectively. Recent studies have shown that cheese consumption may also have some health benefits. For example, some research suggests that consuming cheese may help lower the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. This is because cheese contains a type of fat called conjugated linoleic acid, CLA, which has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity and reduce inflammation in the body. Cheese is also believed to have a positive impact on heart health. While cheese is high in saturated fat, some studies have found that consuming cheese may not increase the risk of developing heart disease. In fact, some studies suggest that consuming cheese may help lower cholesterol levels and reduce the risk of developing heart disease. Overall, cheese can be a healthy addition to your diet, as long as it is consumed in moderation and as part of a balanced diet. It is important to note, however, that some cheeses may contain mold, which can be harmful to your health. Always check for mold before consuming cheese and discard any cheese that appears moldy. 9. Popular moldy cheese varieties and their safety. When it comes to moldy cheese, it can be tricky to determine what is safe to eat and what should be avoided. However, there are some popular moldy cheese varieties that are generally considered safe to eat. One of the most well-known moldy cheeses is blue cheese. The blue veins in this cheese are actually mold, specifically Penicillium roqueforti. This mold is responsible for the distinctive flavor of blue cheese and is safe to eat. Another popular moldy cheese is brie. The white rind on brie cheese is actually a type of mold called Penicillium candidum. This mold is also safe to eat and is an important part of the cheese-making process. Gorgonzola is another blue cheese variety that is safe to eat. Similar to blue cheese, Gorgonzola is made with Penicillium roqueforti mold, but it has a milder flavor. Camembert is another moldy cheese that is safe to eat. Similar to brie, it has a white rind made up of Penicillium candidum mold. It's important to note that while these moldy cheese varieties are generally safe to eat, there are some cases where they can be harmful. For example, if you have a weakened immune system or are pregnant, it's best to avoid moldy cheese altogether. Additionally, if you notice any signs of spoilage such as an off odor or unusual texture, it's best to err on the side of caution and discard the cheese. 10. Conclusion. Enjoying cheese safely. In conclusion, moldy cheese can be enjoyed safely as long as it is handled and consumed correctly. It's important to keep in mind that not all molds are created equal, and some can be harmful to your health. However, many molds are harmless and can even enhance the flavor of cheese. When consuming moldy cheese, it's important to use your senses and inspect the cheese before consuming it. If the cheese has a strong odor, unusual texture, or visible signs of mold growth, it's best to err on the side of caution and discard it. Additionally, if you have a weakened immune system or are pregnant, it's best to avoid all types of moldy cheese. Proper handling and storage of cheese can also help prevent the growth of harmful molds. Cheese should be stored at a cool temperature, wrapped in parchment or wax paper, and kept in a separate container to avoid cross-contamination. When serving cheese, it's important to use clean utensils and avoid placing cheese back on the same plate as other foods. By following these guidelines, you can continue to enjoy the delicious flavors of moldy cheese without sacrificing your health. So go ahead and indulge in that blue cheese or brie, but always remember to enjoy it safely. We hope you found our video about moldy cheese informative and helpful in separating fact from fiction. As you now know, mold on cheese is not always a bad thing, and in some cases, it can even enhance the flavor. However, it's also important to know when to draw the line and throw out moldy cheese to avoid any potential health risks. Armed with this knowledge, you can feel confident in your ability to make an informed decision about whether to eat or not to eat that moldy cheese in your fridge. And if you do decide to indulge, don't forget to pair it with a delicious glass of wine.